Immerse in the profound wisdom of the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, ancient verses, revered as a pinnacle of devotion and spiritual awareness. Under the guidance of His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda, plunge into the infinite ocean of this revered scripture. Discover its hidden truths. Embrace its transformative power. Awaken to new realms of divine love and spiritual awareness. The depths are calling. The deeper you dive, the more treasures you'll discover. And now, Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Asachanuramardanam Devki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, bestower of immortality. And adorations to the Divine Self in each of them. Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, Sutra number 66. Tadyaji Pujayam Itaresham Naivam. They're very miserly in their words. Extremely brief statement. The root yaj, that's what it means literally. The root yaj implies worship of God. It does not refer to other rituals to please other gods. And it relates to statement of Krishna in the Gita. Yanti deva vrata devan pitri yanti pitri vrata bhutani yanti bhute jam ya yanti mat yajino pimam. The worshipper of gods go to gods. The worshipper of forefathers go to forefathers. The worshipper of the spirits, bhutas, lots of ghosts, pishachas, go to bhutas. But worshipper of me come to me. So there is confusion in worship. Whom are you worshiping? And what type of worship is okay? And if you are doing defective worship, what is your punishment? On the path of devotion, all these points have to be understood in proper light. First, the point, God and other gods. The basic point, are there many gods? God is the only one, the absolute. When we refer to other gods, that relates to human mind being limited. You are approaching God not for the sake of God. You are approaching God so that your problems can be resolved, and whatever may be your desire, to pursue your desire, you approach God. As long as your worship is based upon your ego, and ego is highlighted, your worship is not of the God, no matter whatever you may say. You may say, I am worshipping the God, the highest. You are worshipping, your concept of God in your mind is limited. And your worship stops when you get what you want. Gita also makes it clear that even if you are worshipping other gods, it is I am that gives you the fruit of what you are asking for. In this setup of the Hindu concept, there are so many gods. If you wish to have a lot of wealth, Then you turn to Goddess Lakshmi. At that time, you say to Goddess Saraswati, please, stay away. Let me have a lot of wealth. Don't give me spiritual insight. The wealth is useless. I'm giving you a humorous way to understand. Now, at the very outset, don't create too much confusion in your mind. Am I worshipping the God or the other God? And if I'm worshipping other God, what is my punishment? There is no punishment. It's better to worship God no matter how limited your concept. But realize that as long as your concept is limited, what you receive through your worship is limited. It's not a curse, it's just the rule of things. However, you must understand you are lacking a profounder insight of approaching God. So evolve, practice more integral yoga, evolve to that level where your heart and mind and soul all come together looking for God realization. Until then, adopt whatever is natural to you, as long as you understand that what you are asking is limited. Therefore, one thing you can do, can add one sentence to your prayer. Please give me, but also give me devotion, so that I can move on more. And little better prayer is, this is what I want, but do what I must get. So it all depends upon the level of mind. But no matter how limited may be your prayer, never question the prayer. Because when a child comes to the mother, his basic intention is to receive attention. But the child finds out some reason to come. And the reason that behind the child's mind may be just very foolish. But what pleases the mother, no matter what reason the child is coming to me. Much in the same way, or no matter which way you turn to God. But always go on understanding, how can I turn to love God the way He loves me? How does God love you? He cannot dismiss you, relinquish you, or set you apart, no matter what may happen. His omnipotence is limited in that particular respect. He can do all things in the world, but when it comes to separating himself from any soul, he can't do that. The sun has amazing power and glory, do amazing things, but cannot separate itself from any reflection. The reflected sun, no matter how miserable maybe with frogs, the sun will not separate itself from it. It is because of the presence of the sun there is a reflection. The reflection on the sun is related. Now coming to exercise your intellect to understand, as long as your worship remains limited, your mind has not comprehended God in His profounder majesty. Therefore, even though you are using the name of God, the highest according to scriptures, Rama, Krishna, Shiva, even though you use the highest, you first refer to who is the highest one. You figure it out, who is the highest. The fact is that no one is highest. If you are studying scriptures, you realize every god represents the absolute self. So Ramayana tells the story. Shiva went, when he was going to be married to Uma, he invoked the blessings of Ganesh. Tulsidas looks at his audience and they have doubts. So he makes it clear that these gods, though the stories are told in the form of first Shiva as a father, then Ganesha came in as son, but in reality they are beyond. They are eternal, beginningless. So Shiva is beginningless, Ganesha is beginningless, Rama is beginningless. In that light, Jesus is beginningless. We are not product of history. As that understanding dawns, you are moving towards the God. You are moving towards the kingdom of heaven. All else shall be added unto you. Now, coming to another understanding, your worship can be sakamya or nishkamya. Sakamya means led by your desire. And the basis of that desire is holding on to your ego personality, the sense of individuality. So therefore, for masses, all spiritual practice, they must give to their mind the idea that as a result of that worship, they will have a wonderful time in heaven. And many wonderful things will be secured for them. That language is given by the scriptures, so they have no choice. If scripture face humanity as children. So whenever you are promised that in heaven, as a result of your worship, you will be always close to God, looking at His face, looking at all His devotees around, and even your family members, your father, your grandfather, they're all there, even your pets. So nothing is amiss. You must realize that this is not the heaven. This is what you would like to be through a conditioned mind. Now you need to understand what is reality. This is what looks like good through conditioned mind. But should I stay conditioned? Should I become enlightened? If you become enlightened, then all this concept will move away from your mind. A river may go on imagining what will I get when I get into the ocean. Wonderful breakfast, lots of things. But when you have entered the ocean, all your dreams have gone away. Prior to entering the ocean, if you are told everything will go away, it is shocking news. Then why am I practicing all this? For whom? Where it is not going to come to me. But when you enter into the ocean, you realize from the deepest level that is what you've been looking for. That is your goal. When that becomes settled in your mind, then you are the worshipper of the God. As long as that has not settled, you are worshipper of the God mixed up with other gods. So try to bring your mind, whenever mind turns to other gods, try to put the God behind them as their reality. Simple way of understanding. Whenever you are asking for something, try to expand your prayer. I want my pain to go away. Expand it to another level. I want all my relatives, the near and dear ones, their pain go away. Go to another level. I want the pain of all human beings go away. Now go to another level. I want all animals, birds, creatures. Wherever there is pain, I want that pain to go to another level. I just want you, because through you all that is possible. You try to figure it out. Naturally, what you want, according to your needs, that becomes highlighted in your mind. But always understand, allow a mystical space behind your prayer. And that there lies the art of prayer. That the prayer is not just confined to help you as a person, but the prayer is allowing your heart to come closer to God. Therefore, another aspect develops in your mind, the idea that God can be worshipped only in a temple. And the temple that I know, there is a real God. This has been a big disease for human beings, because the idea came to the mind, we should worship God, not idol. Now there is confusion between what is idol and what is God. People who are narrow-minded, it's an easy solution, break all the idols. And that's what lots of religious movements have been going on all times. Breaking down temples, breaking down statues. But that's the most crude and demoniac. That's nothing to do with it spiritually. But again, another aspect. Look at the sun. Sun is God, Surya. Now, to think that if cloud has veiled the sun, then the God is just away from you. You must realize you are worshipping God through the sun. Sun is not the God. Any object around you is this. You can worship God through any object that gives a special impression on your mind. You can worship God as a picture of Jesus or a picture of Krishna. Picture is just nothing. But every name and form becomes a symbol. You can worship God saying God, God, or you can worship God saying Rama, Rama, or Khuda, Khuda. Words are only symbols. But majority of people become so tied up with names and forms, they can't understand. The reality is totally different. You may go on using the best of name for God, and you may have nothing to do with God. I will not elaborate too much. Now So the idea here is to have your goal of relating yourself to the God. And that becomes possible when spirit of surrender enters in your heart. When you begin to develop the bhavana, the attitude, you are an instrument in divine hands. And no longer you have any idea on the basis of your ego. You go on surrendering. And along with it, you experience profounder love. But in the meantime, if you are mixing up, in the morning you are worshipping the God, in the afternoon you are worshipping Anya Devata, the other gods, nobody is going to be angry about it. But read the scripture sometimes, you may get confused. The scriptures you'll use a language, the rod in the hand. If you worship God for this, you are going to hell. I'll give you an episode in the Mahabharata, which I have related before. But something good to repeat again. Yudhishthira asks Bhishma, the grandfather Bhishma in Mahabharata, a highly illumined personality. Even though he lies on the bed of arrows, he goes on communicating, giving highest teachings. And Yudhishthira goes on receiving. Yudhishthira asks, if anyone were to repeat a mantra wrongly, of course he used the term Gayatri mantra, which represents any mantra that you have as your Ishta mantra. If anyone were to repeat it wrongly, what will happen? What are the consequences? And Bhishma just spoke out. He'll go to hell. How dare you insult the mantra? Then Yudhishthira paused and said, "Oh grandfather, why should people receive mantra initiation if that is the risk involved in repeating mantras?" So Bhishma said, by hell I mean if they did not understand mantra in a proper way or has certain defaults in reciting the mantra, which implies that then the highest value of the mantra he can't enjoy. What he will have is according to his ego. He will have prosperity, he will go to heaven, he will have celestial enjoyments, he will have great power, fame, but not liberation. And if you don't have liberation, I call it hell. So if you worship Anya Devata, you are going to go to hell. So understand in that context, from Anya Devata based devotion to profound devotion, there is a progressive movement. And you are never waiting for completely becoming separated from ego and just focused on God. But this has to be understood. You are gradually being led. Next sutra, Padodakam tu Padyam Avyapte Padodak, literally meaning water from the divine feet. In every worship performance in the temple, the priest has water. And when the worship is over, that water has touched the feet of the Lord. So that's called Padodak. Charanamrit is a nectar touched by God's foot. You know very well. It's bhavana. Your feeling is involved. Literally, nothing touches the water. The sutra explains that Padodak refers to water that is intended for washing the feet. Intended, not literal. Otherwise, there will be default. Some people have, for worship, Shivalinga, the oval shape, Shiva. That oval shape Shiva has no feet. Nevertheless, the priest would say this is Charanam. So that's what subtle point being explained. Next sutra says, Swayam arpitam grahyam avishesha. Whatever has been offered to the Lord by a person can be eaten or accepted by him because there is no difference between the devotee and the God. God is your innermost reality. And therefore, if you have offered wonderful things you prepared, you brought to the temple, you offered to God. If you have done that to a human being, you have offered to him, and then hardly he has started eating, you take it away. That's a terrible disrespect. Why don't we view the same way? You offer it to God, and then you take the whole thing away. Not a single grain left there. You eat it yourself, and the whole party, whole satsang gets it. And the sutra says, because there is no difference, God is in everywhere. And naturally, the idea that God eats the food, that's a limited knowledge, a limited, narrow-minded view. Next sutra says, nimitta guna avyapekshanat aparadeshu vyavastha. Defaults in worship arise due to cause, nature, or carelessness. Sometimes when you go to temple and go through certain things in a very orthodox way, it has been this way of teaching from ancient time. That way of teaching should change. The way of teaching is to, in order to speak of importance, people start telling of things that will be nasty if you don't do it. So much so, you will find towards the end of the Gita, never teach this to people who are not prepared. Some scriptures will give you a threat also. If you do that, calamity will come. And at the same time, all the time, the satsang goes on and nobody stays there just to check everybody who is prepared. No identity, nothing. The idea is to highlight that in order to be benefited by the satsanga, you shouldn't have these defects. These defects will slow you down. Instead of gaining the full benefit, you will get less. Just like with Bhishma, you said, you will go to hell. And he explained, hell means missing the attainment of liberation. And if you do it right way means your mantra must become an awakener of aspiration for God realization. You should not view the mantra as different from God. And this again is a progressive move. How much should become devoted to your mantra? How much should it mean to you? How much should you experience the power of your mantra? But not within your sentiments. You don't say, oh good, I will come tomorrow, I will do the highest way. It has to come to you gradually. If you are practicing it, you will go on ascending heights. So day by day, and you don't need to question, am I doing worship of Paradevata? Am I worshipping the God or other gods? Am I doing the right way or the wrong way? Then there are many other rules also. There are when to do it, which direction to face. So many rules are there. And when you do your mantra, in order to be benefited by it, you must have proper achar, proper way of living. You must have more and more understanding not to hurt others, not to allow your mind to be dictated by impurities, anger, greed, hate. But all this should be kept in view. And devotion is practiced also for expiating the errors that you have made. That devotion is not the highest. So you need to understand the different roles played by devotion, different roles played by worship, mantras. It says, Nimit Guna Abhyapekshanat, 3 points are written there. Defaults in worship arise due to cause. Cause may be many things. It can be, it is a rainy day, Instead of doing worship, we started sneezing. Can be any other cause. Nature, due to your certain qualities, tendencies develop in your personality. Some people are more meditative in the morning, some are more meditative in the evening, and so forth. That nature determines it. Led by nature, you may be defaulting as well. And sometimes anicca. Anicca means it is not your will, but somehow circumstances, people around you have driven you to do something, to miss your prayer, to miss your japa. All this is referring to defaulting in your prayer, mantras, and what to do with that. So each time you have defaulted, you create in your mind, I'm going to do more japa to correct this error. You made a certain resolve in your mind, today I'm not going to be angry. But hardly you came out of your puja room, your tongue started moving. So, in your own mind, you create a sankalpa. Tomorrow I'm going to do double the mantras to expiate for this. All these are little branches supporting or rather leading you on to parabhakti. They are not the highest devotion, but they are all variable points. I'll give you one episode of Mahatma Gandhi. At one time, somewhere, Mahatma Gandhi missed his prayer. And he came shaking, this group of people around him. And they turned to him, waited for him what he said with great regret. How is it I didn't pray? I just missed it. Then someone nearby who was very wise told him a parable. There was a Muslim saint. A lot of these Sufi stories are there prevalent in India. And he too was sleeping, and it was a time for him. He was very regular, day by day, to wake up at a certain time, do the prayer. But at one time, somehow he stayed. And then who would come to wake him up? Someone woke him. And he looked. And to his great surprise, that was the devil. He could recognize easily there's two horns. He said, "You? What are you doing here? Why are you waking me up?" The devil said, "The time for your prayer. Wake up." He said, "Aren't you supposed to discourage people from praying to God?" He said, don't say those things," he said. "I know your trick." Because if you don't pray and then regret, your heart begins to melt for God. I don't like that. In normal prayer, your heart doesn't melt, so it's okay with me. So therefore, I wouldn't let you have that benefit. Because God runs after you the moment you regret. And I'm too jealous. But this is the way stories are made, to highlight some point. And then it goes deep into your heart. Sometimes plain words don't stay. But a story like that, saintly man waking up, looking at a devil with two horns, you can't let that go. So that gives you an understanding of subtle mystery. Sometimes you correct your error by internally recognizing it. A little regret comes into your heart, an error is corrected. So there are different ways of handling any default that happens. Now, regarding the defaults, just to give you some idea, to consider God as a minor deity, that's first default. God is not one of his messengers. God is not one of the angels. Angels have limited power. In Hindu philosophy, in Hindu literature, so many gods. God is not the little gods. God is always the absolute. Also to understand, with the Vedic culture, so many gods are described, and they are sometimes people put them as in a lower level. They are written with small g, gods. But any one of them, they are attributes of God. God seen as wealth, prosperity, then that God is Lakshmi. God seen as wisdom, then that God is Goddess Saraswati. God seen as immense power, then God is presented as Hanuman. God is the remover of obstacles, then God is viewed as Ganesha. It's the same God having different poses. Therefore, no matter which God your mind has turned to, understand all gods are behind that Ishtadevata. Not a single God becomes jealous because you have started worshipping this particular one. If this is understood, you are understanding Hindu Dharma in a proper way. But unfortunately, even Hindus don't have come to that understanding anyhow. There's always a kind of viewing different gods with different personalities. But that's a default. To look upon Vedas, Gita, or any religious scripture as ordinary book to entertain yourself. And when it is finished, they lived for happily ever after. It's not a study of stories. It is a study that would enter your mind again and again. As you go on studying a profounder level of reality that is behind this scriptural statement, that unfolds in your heart. The same sentence you have been repeating, but as you advance, it becomes something different. You become inspired. So scriptures are not ordinary books. The another default is to discriminate devotees on the basis of class and various distinctions, color, class, sex, and so forth. Any discrimination based on these outer expressions, that's a default. And again, another default is to regard a guru as any other person. Because then you are not relating. Through the guru, you are relating to God. And guru has to be recognized as a channel. That again doesn't mean that you have found a guru, then you begin to underestimate or look down upon other gurus. Because your attitude should be totally different. Because worshipping God through guru. And wherever God is pursued, your mind should be always open to it, rather joyous about it. Also, it doesn't mean that unless the teaching comes through the lips of the guru, I will not follow. You must realize Guru being a spiritual inspirer, his teachings echo through all over the world. You study the satsanga and all that, and then you go to your house, and your child suddenly speaks out something. which I have said. And you listen to it. So that type of understanding of Guru has to come into your mind. So much so Bhagavad Puran teaches how Avadhut Dattatreya was inspired by 24 gurus. And those gurus imply everything in the world. He was inspired by the breeze, the wind. The wind became his guru. And what did he learn from it? The wind carries all types of fragrance, but doesn't get stuck to it. All fragrance, negative, positive, fragrant, foul. The breeze carries it and remains detached. That's one example. So I learned from the sky. No matter whatever may be the clouds, I'm always detached. The idea is that concept of Guru has to expand. That doesn't contradict your relation with the Guru at any level. To have limited attitude to divine incarnations. Again, whenever we're turning to incarnation, your appreciation of the incarnation is based on devotion to God. And incarnation is God's presentation. So you do not read the scriptures and come up with ordinary problems. Why did Rama kill Bali from hidden behind the palm trees? Why did Krishna allow the whole battle to go on? He could have just smashed the enemy. So you don't judge the avatars in that fashion. Or to decide, well, no, this avatar was not so great. That one was greater. All that's not the intention. When these teachings are given, the intention is not that your mind should go on creating who is big, who is superior, who is inferior, and creating a partiality, therefore turn to Rama only or to Krishna only. To view rasa dance as ordinary amorous sport. Again, when you see Krishna with so many ladies dancing, you must realize this is a portrayal of profound feeling towards God, not to view it in a worldly way. Next obstacle, lack of faith. You're doing puja, your mind is saying, am I wasting time? I could have done something. I've twittered, I have tweeted. Next, judging other devotees. Looking at them and judging. Asking, did you have any spiritual experience? No? And judging, oh, down. Next, to comment on merits and demerits of saints and sages. So, oh, that saint was wonderful. One area, he shouldn't have done that. The Buddha was better. And so forth. That's pure ignorance. To develop a sense of superiority because you are doing more japa than others. Because you are developing devotion to others, therefore a sense of superiority. That I am being recognized by God and they are not. They are being recognized by the devil. All these and similar, these are called defaults. And defaults have to be corrected. Corrected by prayer, by mantra, by fasting, by austerity. And all these different methods are adopted to suit different people in different ways. And they are part of devotional movement. With this we conclude. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of spiritual growth. It's an honor to learn from the wisdom of Swami Jyotirmayananda. As we part for now, remember, the quest does not end. Take time to reflect on today's insights and integrate them into your life. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, stay present. The light within you is always shining.